this. Cool. I want to see how everyone's doing this morning. So on the chat, you can just say like how you're feeling this morning. So please share. I'll be reading out some of the stuff you guys are saying. Nice. Thank you, Judy. Feeling great and nice. Okay, that's great. Anyone else? So Joel says, hi, a bright morning here in Thika. Morning all. Oh yes, you can put also where you're calling in from. And Mary says, I feel wonderful and happy. Thank you. Me also put, maybe I should have started. I feel excited and inspired. And Mary says, I feel wonderful and happy. Thank you, Mary. Rebecca says, hi, this morning I'm feeling great and excited. Oh, wait, that's me. Is that me? No. Okay, and Miriam says, great, it was a great morning. Say this, give Papa proper coffee in a, okay, give me a tongue twister. So Miriam says, give Papa proper coffee in a copper coffee cup. Nimezana? Teresia says she's a bit tensed, sijali, but najiamini, I got this. That's the spirit. Brenda says she's excited, energetic, encouraged. Nice. Kevin says, I feel lively. That's great. How about the rest? Even if you're not feeling well, it's okay. You can share. We can try and cheer you up if it's possible. Jerva says, hi, the weather here in Mombasa is so hot. It is giving me a weirdo feeling. Pole, pole. Great to see you're calling in from Mombasa. Nice. Andia says, I feel boisterous. Okay. What does that mean? Kevin says, I feel lively. Andia says, can't wait to present today. Nice. Okay. Those are great. You can keep them coming on. But I would like to start the session because I see most of the people that are supposed to be in have called in. So thank you all. I'll just read the last one. So can't wait to present today. Emmanuel says, morning everyone, yo Kurauka. He's just waking up. I feel so excited. Edison says, I feel cool. Nice, great, great. Thank you all for sharing that. So start the meeting. Before I start, let me see. I just want to share my screen so that you can see what I'll be presenting. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. Okay, yeah, so we'll start. Thank you all for joining in on this call on this Tuesday morning. And good morning. So I'd like to welcome you all to the InChallenge Showcase event. My name is Richie Biko, and I lead the InChallenge program here in Kenya. The organization that's hosting this program and this showcase event is called Global Minimum Inc., or in short, GMIN, and it's a nonprofit youth development organization that is committed to providing opportunities to inspire youth to become leaders, innovators, and change makers in their communities. We believe in the youth's limitless potential, and we provide enabling environments and access to programs that encourage young people to collaborate with one another, think critically, to develop creative solutions and come up with ideas to challenges they've identified in their communities, all the while building their creative confidence and their communication skills to share those ideas in various platforms. We also pride ourselves in giving mentorship to our youth, and this helps them in thinking about the technical aspects of their projects and also how they can continue growing as a leader. In addition, we utilize project-based learning and maker education that enhances and builds upon skills, upon subjects taught in school and class to equip students with entrepreneurship skills, digital literacy, and technical capacities such as computing, programming, and circuitry. Today, this event is the accumulation of over 10 days of online classes for our young leaders, where they learned about problem solving and how they can grow as a leader, innovator, and change maker. This is our agenda for today. So we're not so bad on time. So I'm going to continue with the welcoming remarks. And then after this, I'll introduce our judges. And then we'll start on the presentations, which is the exciting part. So we'll do the first 5 presentations, and then we'll have almost like 5-minute break at 11:15. Then we'll come back, do the last 5, the next 5 presentations. And then we'll conclude with awards and the closing remarks. So we hope if everything goes smoothly, we'll conclude by 12:30. Okay. So get comfortable, because sitting for 2 hours is not that easy, or 2.5 hours. Okay. So as I mentioned, like this event is a accumulation of 10 days of online classes where young people are being exposed to various workshops and learning opportunities. And one of the first workshops we had was an introduction to human-centered design, where our leaders were challenged to design and make, introduction to human-centered design, where students were challenged to really think about a proper step and process of solving problems. So there's a process called design thinking, which takes a person from from identifying a problem in the empathy stage all the way to creating a solution that's viable for the people they're solving for. And just on the photos, these are some of the assignments students were working on. So I don't know if the image is clear, but these are the various ideas that the learners were coming up with for their projects. Then the youth got to learn about the importance of prototyping and working in a team. So there was a fun design activity called Build a Tower Challenge. So learners were tasked with coming up with looking around their home and community and coming up with any materials or resources they can use to build a tower and see how tall it is. And they were invited to do this activity with their families and friends. And as with life, guidance and mentorship is important. And at GMIN, we make sure to provide mentorship for all the teams that participate in our programs. And our mentors range from young and experienced professionals, engineers, entrepreneurs, and inventors. They dedicate a lot of their time to help the students in their learning journey as change makers, where they get to learn and work with the teams in prototyping, as well as giving feedback on their presentation. These are all the mentors that we recruited, that we had for this camp, and I really like to take the opportunity to thank them for their time as well. The learners also got an opportunity to get on a virtual field trip, and for this camp we visited Martin and his team in Fablab Winam, which is in Kisumu. Fablab Winam is a space where innovators and leaders can go to prototype on their ideas. So they work a lot with hardware solutions, and they assist the local communities in improving their livelihoods through creating hardware solutions that can help the community. So we had a virtual field trip where Martin talked about what they do there and also showing us the various tools and also the projects that they're working on. We also got to hear from one of the greatest inventor that I've come to know here in Kenya. His name is Peter Mbiria, and he shared about his journey in inventing and how he creates stuff both for fun and also for impact. This was a great exposure for the young people as they got to learn about new technologies like 3D printing and the importance of really designing before you create something. We also invited one of our long-term partners, InChallenge, and Michael, who works at InChallenge, took the students through a business model canvas. And this was to help the students have a bigger picture of seeing how the idea can turn into a sustainable enterprise. And also we had Franco from Cheza Cheza Dance Foundation to share about his journey in finding purpose and turning it into a vision to help his community through the organization he found called Cheza Cheza, which teaches life skills through dance. And then finally, we also hosted this camp in collaboration with our brothers and sisters in Sierra Leone. And we had 2 calls where we got to interact with the other young leaders from Sierra Leone, and we played a quiz where we were understanding about each other's countries, culture, people, politics, and history. Okay. So we had a quiz, and I know this image is, the first image is of us on the call. The next image on your right, on my right, is the results of the quiz. I won this quiz, but I was rigged out of position 1, so I'll have to revisit and see what happened there. At this point, I would like to introduce our judges. And if they're on the call, they can just unmute themselves and they just say hello and wave to everyone. I'll unmute themselves and turn on the video and just say hey to everyone after I finish reading their bio. So one of our first judges is someone I've known since 2016, as he was one of the leaders we worked with that year and continue to work with. So his name is Jefferson Kangacha, and he's an Alan and Gil Gray Scholar at Strathmore Business School. He's also a social entrepreneur and technology enthusiast passionate about social innovation, entrepreneurship, and education. Jeff is also the co-founder of School for a Village, a nonprofit organization he co-founded dedicated to bridging the gap in science and technology education in rural Kenya and India. Jefferson later founded the Eden Horticultural Hub, an agricultural initiative modernizing urban horticultural farming through automated hydroponics. So Jeff, if you're on the call, I'm just going to exit a bit. Could you turn your video on and just wave, say hi to everyone so they know you?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. This is mostly one of my favorite parts of the year.
Nice. Thank you, Jeff. Good to see you. Let me go back to my presentation. And our next judge is Faith. And Faith was joining the call. I'll see if she's on. Faith is a program director at Lumen Labs, which is a social enterprise with a mission to bridge the digital divide by making computer education accessible to underserved and last mile communities. She's also a business lecturer at African Nazarene University and is an experienced business and innovations leader with relevant skills to lead technology-based organizations to achieve desired goals. Faith holds a first-class honors in banking and finance, as well as a master in business administration from the African Nazarene University. Faith, are you on the call? You can unmute and turn on your video to say hi to everyone.
Hi, Richie. I don't know if my audio is good today, but yeah, I'm very excited to be here with you guys. Yeah.
Nice. Great. Yeah, your audio is great. Thank you for that, Faith. And our last judge, let's go back to mine. Our last judge is Brian Chesoli, and he's a social entrepreneur with a track record of championing social innovations that position young people to be change makers within sub-Saharan Africa. He's passionate about promoting social inclusion and active citizenship of young Africans. Brian has demonstrated that he's a change maker by being instrumental in key projects aimed at transforming learning and nurturing young problem solvers within East Africa through Ashoka's Transforming Youth Years program. As a result of his track record, Brian has been accorded various commendations both locally and internationally from organizations such as Ashoka, United Nations, Queen's Commonwealth Trust, among others. Finally, Brian is a sociable and heartwarming person with a big vision for African youth and a positive outlook for life. And sorry, I'm just smiling at that because that's so true if you know Brian. And he's currently in another meeting, but he'll be joining us soon. So I know when he comes, he'll be able to introduce himself. And with that, I'd like to hand over to my colleague, my wonderful colleague, Brenda, to take us through the next session. Thank you all and welcome again.
Nice. Hi, everyone. It's exciting. I'm excited to see you all. And for our participants, it's been a long 9 days, and I'm just glad to see day 10. I believe we're all prepared. So before we begin the presentation, I'd just like to share a few guidelines that will help us as we start our presentations. Let me just share my screen so that you can see the outline. So we have two judges who are here with us, and as we wait for Brian, we'll just continue. And when he joins us, he'll get the instructions and just jump in. But for the presentations, you get a maximum of 7 minutes. Ellie, who's in the call, will be timing for us. And when it's 6 minutes, he'll just type in the chat, you have 1 minute left and you can wind up. When time's up, I'll notify you. And I just hope you practice enough so that you can utilize the 7 minutes properly. After your presentation, we'll have 2 minutes for the judges to give their feedback and ask a few follow-up questions. Specifically for the questions, because of the time limitations and just to prevent many back and forths, we can take note of the questions. If you have a quick answer, you can go ahead and answer. If not, just know these questions are supposed to help you work on your prototype when you go to the implementation stages. And always remember to take note of the feedback that you're given, because this will be very fundamental when you're working on your prototypes. Okay, so that's it. It's just simple. 7 minutes, do your presentation, you get feedback. Feedback buddies, remember to write the feedback for your teams. And at the end of every presentation, we'll be clapping for the team that has presented, just to celebrate them. Remember, you've all done a great job these past 9 days. So I hope you're ready. And the first team we have is the Tesma Solar Water Purifier. Drink it, stay safe. So Teresia and Francis, if you're ready, it's your turn.
So welcome to our presentation. I'm a presenter, Teresia Njirim, and my colleague is Francis Madhea. Unfortunately, he's not able to make it because of network issues, but soon I'm sure he'll join in. So our project is about the purifying water using the solar energy. We came up with the name Tesma after combining our names in order so that our name is somehow unique. So we identified the problems that are facing the community, especially our community in Joro. You find that most people do not have the access to clean water, and therefore they opt for unsafe sources, leading to the contraction of waterborne diseases. Developing countries mainly have fallen victims to this. An example, familiar example is Kenya, the northeastern parts of Kenya, like Mandera. Many people do not have the access to this clean drinking water. And therefore, we did a background research. If you can go to the next slide. This one is the problem framing tree of actually the minor problems that contribute to the major problem. So we decided to come up with that so that it can help us in identifying the problems. So if kindly you can go to the next screen, we did a background research to be able to confirm that indeed it is a problem. And we were able to confirm that waterborne diseases are the major killers in terms of non-communicable diseases. You find that 3.4 million people die as a result of these waterborne diseases each year. Also, 4,000 children die globally because of these waterborne diseases. So you can see that this is a major problem. We obtained our sources from the World Health Organization. If you can go to the next slide. So we decided to come up to look for a solution which will be able to solve this problem. Indeed, there are so many options, but we decided to use an option that is efficient and also many people are comfortable with it. That's why we decided to purify the water using the solar energy. So our project works under the principle of evaporation and condensation. We designed a system. We have a tank that has contaminated water and a container that helps us in purifying the water. So we connect a pipe at the tank with a pipe to the container. Therefore, the contaminated water will flow into the container. And there's a solar panel inside the container which helps in heating the water. So when the water is heated, it reaches its boiling point, which is 100 degrees Celsius, and therefore it will evaporate. Because of the incoming cool air from the outlet and also the cold water that is entering the container, the vapor will condense. On top of the container, there's a transparent glass cover, meaning that the condensed vapor will flow, and since our system is slanted, it will flow to the outlet where you're able to collect now your pure water, which is safe for drinking. We can go to the next slide. The advantages of using our project. So that's the image of what I was explaining. There's the container and also the tank. So the advantages of using this system is that It will reduce the cost of accessing clean water. This is because you can obtain impure water from any source and then purify it. Also, it will reduce the waterborne diseases. This is because it purifies the water and also kills all the microorganisms. Therefore, it is free from bacteria. Another thing is that it ensures zero pollution of the environment, mainly because it does not produce any greenhouse gases, therefore safe for us all. If you can go to the next slide, the disadvantages. So the disadvantages of a project is that it is slightly expensive in terms of purchasing the solar panel. But if you purchase it, then it will help you because you won't need to purchase it the second time if proper maintenance, if you maintain it properly. So another thing is that it lacks minerals because it is distilled water. So there's a difference in the taste, but if you get used to it, then you'll enjoy it. Even if it lacks minerals, it does not mean that it is harmful for human consumption because you'll be able to obtain the minerals from the food that you are eating. It also, the pure water that is obtained depends on the surrounding temperature. That means that if the temperature is high, then you'll be able to obtain a larger volume of pure water. To the next slide. So in the solutions to this problem are many. We term them as our competitors. You can decide to boil the water, but if you decide to boil the water, then it is slightly expensive. This is because you'll need to purchase fuel in order to boil the water. Another method is filtration. You can decide to use filtration, but now it is not 100% safe. This is because it does not kill all the microorganisms, and therefore you might be exposing yourself to waterborne diseases. There's chlorination, but research has proven that a lot of consumption of chlorine might be harmful to our bodies, especially to the people having pre-existing conditions. It's not advisable. So we recommend that people adapt the distillation because even if it lacks minerals, it is helpful to our bodies. If you can go to the next slide. So we see our project as better. This is because it is safe, free from microorganisms. Therefore, the water that you obtain is safe for drinking. Another thing is that, as I've said, it is easily accessible. You can obtain impure water from any source and then purify it. But we advise that you obtain the water from a comfortable source that you can trust and you're comfortable when drinking it. So I don't advise that you collect the water from sewer lines. So another thing is that the environment because it is made up of the container is made up of plain sheets which are galvanized, and therefore if they come in contact with water, it will not rust. So our target market, we are targeting mostly the less privileged communities, especially in our community. And after it has worked, we want to advance it to the next communities. Our future plans, we want to make the inlet automatic. This is because right now, currently, you need to be there in order to control the flow of water so that you do not have excess water flowing to the system. Because if the water is in excess, then it will take time for the water to evaporate. Also, you want to use a solar panel with a battery so that it is able to store the energy for later use in case the temperature isn't conducive. Also, you want to do a documentary in future so that you can have a hard proof because you only did an interview. So you want to do a documentary to show exactly what is affecting the community. So the founding members of our group is I, Teresia Njeri, my partner, who is Francis Madea, and also our assistant patron, who is Madam Krista Belongoi. So my presentation is over. If you have any questions or any clarifications, you can ask. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let's clap for Teresia for the wonderful presentation. Okay, I was expecting us to use the clap on Zoom, but that's also well received. Thank you. So at this point, I'll invite our judges. If you have any question, you can direct it to Teresia. If you have any comments, especially feedback that will help them just take their project to the next level, you're welcome to just take a minute to give her the feedback. Faith or Jefferson, if you can hear me.
Yeah. That was very good. Thank you for sharing the work that you've been doing. Just a very quick question. Is this intended to be a project for individual households, such that every household has to install the system, or is it a community based project such that the community comes together and they purchase or install this?
Okay, so mainly we want to help the community, but it is not only about giving back to the community. Also, we have to make profit out of it. And in order to make profit, we cannot say that, yes, it will be a community-based system, but we want to make it to every homestead. Like, or maybe like the way we have nyumba kumis, we can decide to maybe several homesteads purchase one and then use it. If it's a larger system, it will help them in purifying the water according to each homestead. If you can purify it and then store it, that will be helping maybe 10 homestead using the one system. But also we were thinking of, at first we were thinking of making it a community thing, but after attending the camp, we now came to know that it's not only about giving back to the community. Out of everything that you do, you also have to make profit out of it, since it is like a business. So we've decided to maybe adapt the initiative of Nyumba Kumis so that we can combine homesteads and then maybe a certain homestead to have a system. So we'll just give it out at first, and then if it is well accepted, then that way we'll think of how to make profit out of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the precise response. If you have any more feedback that could be useful for the TESMA water purifier team, please type it in the chat. Feedback buddies, take note of the feedback that people are giving and record it for Teresia so that they'll use it to improve their prototype. Thank you so much. Up next, we have Team Genius. Team Genius.
Hi. Hi, my name is Sandra Akonya, and my teammates are Ruth Andias, Macready Andias, and Rebecca Wairimo. And we are the Team Genius. Our problem is environmental pollution, and our major problem is air pollution. Our solution is to build a wind-powered zero-emission vehicle. So let me hand over to my colleague Macready to take us through the problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandra. So, vehicle using leaded fuel have been believed to be the epicenter of about 40% of environmental pollution, according to the World Health Organization. So, according to the United Nations Environmental Program. So, basically here in Kenya, we have did our own personal research. We've visited local hospitals like Mbagathi, and we have seen people traveling in those hospitals seeking medical services, and most of those people are vulnerable to this challenge and have contracted asthma, lung cancer, which are mostly induced by this. What we came up with is that we're trying to make up a wind-powered zero-emission vehicle, which will try to combat this challenge. So this vehicle, maybe you can go through the prototype, Brenda. So the vehicle will have a small rotor on the surface or in front of the car, which will rotate effectively powered by wind. So the rotor is connected to the generator of the tires via a drivetrain. So as the wind will be streaming through the vehicle, it will be rotating speedingly the rotor, generating energy. So the energy generated by the generator will be converted from wind into electric energy and will be transmitted via a lead-acid accumulator battery, which will act as a reservoir battery to store that energy. So this will be a remedy, because if the intensity of wind is not that great, the vehicle can move under the pre-charged battery. So maybe next slide. So our target market, we are mostly focused on the global vehicle operators, all those people who operate vehicles, specifically taxi drivers and logistic companies who travel for long distances selling merchandise. So, but we have made our research and identified that about 60% globally people use vehicles, and locally in Kenya, about 40% operate vehicles. So I believe our solution would be a great remedy, since those people won't really need to fuel their cars. It's just a matter of wind being available. So I'll hand over to Ruth to take us through the revenue.
About the revenue stream, we are seeking partnership with giant vehicle manufacturing companies like Vika Automobiles, where we can at least generate 60% of the sale of the cars from the companies. We are also seeking to launch a series of exhibitions where people and investors can come to scrutinize the unique vehicles under charges. We are hopeful to launch our own manufacturing farm by 2030 to gain full revenue. Maybe you can go to the next slide, cost structure. On the cost structure is kinder high due to the complex materials that to come up with the model of the vehicle. The major materials are the bank batteries, motor, sensing circuit, reservoir lead acid accumulator battery, a small generator, a rotor mild steel, PCV pipes, young modulars, controller, and a GH sheet, which will amount to a gigantic cost. I'll now hand over to the next person, Sandra Akonya, to go on with the partnership.
So we are seeking partnership with local and global mobile companies, machinery engineering companies, and travel companies whose logos are highlighted. So let me hand over to my colleague Ruth to take us through competition.
Okay, our project being a wind power zero emission vehicle will face a slight competition from two other major existing solutions which cover the same challenge. They are the electric powered car and the solar powered car. I'll hand over to Macready Andias to take us through why our project is better.
Our project is far much better compared to the existing solutions, which are the electric vehicle and the solar powered car. Compared to the electric car, I'm not sure if the car will work much better when it's away from the fueling, from the charging station. It will face that challenge. Maybe when the battery is critical to drive the car, it will face a challenge when the car is far from the charging station. Then, in case there is a blackout, electric blackout, the car will face a challenge to operate. And compared to the solar powered car, the car will not work that immensely at night since there's no solar at night. And another thing about the solar powered car is that the car uses a lot of energy, solar energy to operate, and there's times of the day where the solar energy is not that much intense. So our project, I think why it's much better compared to the two is that our project mainly focuses on wind, and wind is always available. I know there's some people who may argue about that, but wind is always available regardless whether there is upwind or downwind. Upwind is when the intensity of wind is much stronger in the atmosphere, and downwind is when the intensity of wind is much stronger and near the ground level. So our car can be charged by either upwind or downwind. So I think that's how a project is better. So I will hand to the next partner to move on the next slide.
We are planning to get partnership with local and global giants vehicle operators by 2025 and at least launch our own manufacturing farms to get our own customers by 2030. And as always, great things take a bit time to come true. So I'll hand over to my colleague Rebecca to finalize our project.
That's all for our presentation. Our team presentation crew was Sandra Akonya, Macready Andias, Ruth Andias, and I, Rebecca Wairimo. I, at the point, welcome you to give feedback. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I'll invite one judge to give feedback before we continue. If for the participants, if you have feedback, please feel free to type in the chat. And as we do that, please let's clap for them again, for this team. Want to see claps, claps, claps. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I'll invite the judge, Faith or Jefferson, if you have a comment, question, some feedback to guide the team.
None from my end.
Okay, Jeff, do you have any comments?
I also have none.
All right, so for the participants, I see just keep giving the feedback in the chats, and the feedback buddy, please take note of their feedback so that they'll use it to implement their prototype. The next team we have is the Safitech. I hope you're ready.
Hi, my name is Doreen and I'm with my partner project, Judy Kemunto. We are in St. Catherine Girls High School. So our project is about solving environmental problem through solving the sewage problem. So our name is Safitech, which means that it's dealing with cleanliness in our environment. Next.
For our problem, it is about sewage spillage. Here's whereby the sewage sometimes puffs out and starts pouring, causing the environment to be unconducive for the people who are present. The effects of this problem are health hazards like citis, which are skin diseases, and tumors. We also have breathing problems. On the same hand, we have the loss of soil fertility through the sewage sludges, which are things flushed down the toilets. Killing of aquatic life when the sewages get in contact with the rivers or any other water bodies, they make them to lose the oxygen that the aquatic could use to breathe in and hence lose their lives. Next, please. On background research about the problem, we researched according to Envirotech, which is due to sludges. As I say, sludges are anything flushed down the toilet. It also brings to killing of aquatic lives, which I had explained earlier, and also the health hazards like respiratory viruses and citis. Our motivation is people need to live in a clean and healthy environment. This is whereby people need to be in a green and blue environment. Green for the vegetation and blue for the waters. Next, please. Our solution: planning. There will be a gadget called a sewage level sensor, which will send impulse to another gadget, which transforms the message, which transforms the impulse into a message, sending it to the main company to come and empty the sewages. Okay, the solution is an installation of the sewer level sensor, which will activate the gadget, sending a message to the sewer owners and the main sewage company via Internet of Things, which is globalized throughout the small villages of the world. Next, please. So here is a prototype. Maybe Doreen can take us through it, please.
Yeah, as you can see in the prototype, we have there the node MCU, we have the LED light, and there we have the sensor. And at the corner over there, you can see that the battery, which are connected through wires to our prototype. You can see that that light over there, the red light, it will send an information via Wi-Fi to the phone, giving someone a message or the company a message that the sewage is almost full. So the labor will come and work on it and will come and empty the sewage. So our target market is the people mainly who have sewage around their homes, and most especially the institutions. As you all know, these institutions are like schools, universities, primary school, and all sort of that. We are also trying to get reach of restaurants and other places with sewage access. Next.
On the revenue streams, we have partnership. Here is whereby we want to form partnerships with companies like Envirotech, Global, and Clean Water Flow. We also have donations. Here is whereby if people are willing to change the world to make it conducive, to make the environment conducive, they can come in and donate something to help us in building the gadgets, and services like emptying of the sewages also will bring the revenue. Next, please.
So our cost structure, it is divided into two, the CAPEX and the OPEX. To the CAPEX, the capital expenses are like the fabrication, technical, and the node MCU. So these are just like the materials required for us to put in place the liquid level sensor. And the OPEX, these are like the operation expenses, like the maintenance and the salaries of staff. The maintenance is just like making sure that these liquid level sensor work, and the salaries for the staff is just giving out the wages to those people who work coming to collect the sewage. Next.
Here are our partners. As I earlier told you, we are planning to join arms with Natural Flow, Envirotech. Next, please.
So our competition is the sewage works, which are the Nihon Siuko Global.
The sewage level sensor is much better because it is time saving, accurate, and flexible. Next, please.
So our future plans is joining arms with the wastewater municipality utility, which are the Blue Planet Labs.
To add something on the biobotanalytics, it helps in investigation of COVID, which will also help in knowing the main cause of COVID.
So for our founding teams, it's Judy, Timoto Mose.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Judy and Doreen. That was really wonderful. I'll invite, if any of the judges have feedback to give or a question to ask, this is the time. For the rest, if you have any questions, type in the chat and I'll be monitoring, and Wango is also monitoring to just see if there are any questions that we need to ask.
Okay, let me just go. So the first one is, I'm not too sure if they mentioned if the system has a location tracker, so some GPS or something of the kind, because otherwise how would the sewage collectors know exactly where to go? Then the second thing is, if they can just clarify on what the business model is, how do they intend to make money out of it?
Okay, thank you for the nice questions, Faith. So Doreen and Judy, I hope you had those two questions. How the companies are going to identify where the tracker is, and then working on your business model. Remember, we did the business model canvas, and this can guide you on which model to use. So feel free to follow up with these questions.
For the first question,
Mm-hmm.
how will they know about the sewage? Okay, as we told you earlier, it connects through the information of things, where the message from the sewage level sensor is sent to the gadget, then a message from the gadget to the main sewer owners and the main sewage company through information of things. That's how it works.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. For the other questions, just work on it and ask for help whenever you need clarification. Thank you for the presentation. Up next, we'll have Team Biomass. George, I hope you're ready. But in the meantime, we can have the next team present. So the hydrogen fuel cell, Miriam and your team, you can go ahead and present as we wait for George to get back.
Okay, this is Mirimasha company of hydrogen fuel cell. Mirimasha means Miriam, Marceline, and Shamila. We composed our names so that we can get the name of the company. The problem that we identified was reducing pollution from vehicle exhaust. Now we are using hydrogen instead of fuel. The next slide. As we are researching on how we will reduce the cost of fuel used on automobile industries and eliminate air pollution, because hydrogen is an element and it is rechargeable. It can be used for a long time and it cannot pollute the environment. Next slide.
For a solution that is the hydrogen fuel cell, we are developing a unique fuel cell that will convert chemical energy into electrical energy. That is, so for this is how it's going to work. So this one is a electrochemical cell that converts chemical energy of the fuel, that is the hydrogen, as you can see there, and an oxidizing agent, that is the oxygen, into electricity. So this is how it will work. Just like an internal combustion engine of the fuel cars that makes power using the fuel from the tank, our fuel cell is not going to burn the hydrogen. Instead, it's going just to fuse chemically, like the way you can see there, the fuel from the anode side and the air from the cathode side. They're going to fuse chemically, and that is oxygen from the air, and that will make water. That will be the byproduct of the fuel cell. That will now be the byproduct. Instead of the fumes, water is the one which will be coming out. So for Shamila, we'll continue from the target market.
Market. So like our target market is the like car manufacturers and local communities. Like we target to like sell the hydrogen to people who manufacture cars. Next slide.
Just to add on something, the car manufacturers, that is, like what she has said, that is, these people will help us to make the vehicles that we'll be using for hydrogen fuel cell. And for the local communities, also to add on that, there's like the third world countries examples, there are most of them who can't afford the cost of the petroleum. So like we'll be manufacturing our own hydrogen and exporting it to them. If they find it beneficial, they are going to buy it. Next, Shamila can continue.
Revenues plan to strike in order like to get hydrogen to like we will sell it locally and export it to different states. Next slide. We have done some research and we have noted that hydrogen fuel prices range from 1,000 the price and operate per month.
Just to help her there, about the cost structure, that those are the raw materials, fossil fuels, and hydrogen gas. So as she has said, the common price that will range it from is from 1,501.13 shillings. That is per kilogram of the hydrogen based on the operating cost. So the reason why we are going to range it there because we need those raw materials, and we'll be also extracting our own fuel because it's not a must we get fuel from the stations. We can extract our own fuel that is from either the hydrogen itself, that is by electrolyzing the water, or from also vegetable oils, that is by reacting it with common chemicals like H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide. So the result will be renewable. So for the partners, you can partner with the car manufacturers. As I've said, they're going to also to help us build, they're going to make the cars that are going to use that hydrogen fuel cell. And for the funders, that is, you can partner with them because what the funders look for, they look for sustainability and ways to make a long-term impact. So like if our proposal has the ability to sustain itself over a period of time, the funders are going to look up to us because one thing about hydrogen is that it's self-sustaining and lasts the lifetime, not our lifetime, the lifetime of a vehicle. Yeah, so our competition, we're going to compete with the solar-powered vehicles. And also there is the NedStack company because they also have almost similar project, that is the renewable energy project. So we are going to compete with them. So for our product, why is our product better? Our fuel is self-sustaining. One thing, it produces a lot of energy, and that explains also I'm going first to go to why it's expensive. It produces a lot of energy. That explains why it's expensive, because once the hydrogen is produced, it's going to be compressed under very high pressure so as to squeeze it also into a tank. And for this one, it's efficient because they can serve as an alternative fuel. And so these cars with hydrogen fuel cells, they are going to use electric motors that are more energy efficient. And so another thing is that they operate silently because, as you have said, the byproduct is going to be water. So about how they operate silently, it will eliminate pollution, the air pollution. It's going to eliminate it because all of us at one point in life we have breathed in the fumes from the exhaust fumes from the fuel cars, and so the more we breathe it in, it's going to we're going to develop respiratory diseases. So about the disadvantages, it's expensive. Yeah, it's expensive, but it can last the lifetime of a vehicle. And it's also difficult to store. And at some point, it's highly flammable. But again, we think it's of benefit because the thing that has to be done there is that the materials are only going to be recycled. And also hydrogen is readily available. Anyone can manufacture your own hydrogen, Any questions, feedback? So for our founding team, I'm Miriam, the team leader, Shamila, the project designer, and Maslin, project assistant.
Thank you, Miriam, for the wonderful presentation. Despite the hiccups in network connectivity and all, I really enjoyed your presentation. I would just want to know how much energy you're actually producing. You kept saying a lot. It produces a lot of energy. I hope by the time you build your prototype, I'll be able to see that. Thank you so much. I'll invite feedback from the judges. Jeff, if you have any comments, Faith, if you have any comments before we proceed. And also after this, George, I see you're back, and after the presentation, we'll go back to your presentation. So George will be next after the feedback.
Nothing from my end.
All right. So if there are no other comments, please guys, I can see from the chats, people are really enjoying the presentation. See comments, it was great, futuristic fuel, time's up. You really spoke for a long time. I don't know why Ellie didn't notify you of your time, but that was a really nice presentation. So up next, we'll have George. Welcome back with your presentation on biomass.
My name is George Kani, presenting an innovative project on utilization of biomass to energy, providing everyday solutions. As we are conducting our day-to-day lives, we come across waste in the streets, households, and in dump sites. Waste is insatiable. People living in Nairobi produce about 2,000 tons of waste per day. Approximately 50% of this waste is collected and the rest is left lying on the street. The research has shown that increase in human population and urbanization have increased the generation of waste. This has brought about the challenge of proper disposal of this waste. The effects of this are clearly seen in the public health center, where there are diseases, e.g. cholera and malaria from mosquito breeding. The environment has also received some of the effects, as there is air and land pollution. The research shows that 60% of waste produced in the world is organic. The organic waste is formed through photosynthesis. 120 billion tons of biomass is 5 times energy capacity consumed in the world. Only 1% is utilized. This 1% can supply approximately 14% of the total energy consumed. Households will benefit as they will get a cheaper and clean alternative energy for the street, for their consumptions, and the streets will also be clean. The process of making these briquettes is by collection of the waste. You can separate the waste. You heat in the kiln to make the char. Then you put it together using the cow dung, which will act as a binder. Then you press it to any shape you want it to become. Then you can dry it to become a briquette. The next slide. The product will mainly be sold to households, mostly people of 30 years and above, as they have families and they require a reliable source of energy. The product will be distributed to urban areas, as the study shows that 82% of people living in urban centers use fossil fuels, e.g. charcoal, compared to the 32% living in rural areas. The company will mainly get revenue from the sale of briquettes and partnerships with other companies. Next slide. We will incur costs from acquiring equipment, e.g. the kiln and the compressor, salaries to employees, and the maintenance cost of the employees, maintenance cost of the equipment. The next slide. We will partner mainly with garbage collectors who will bring in the waste. Retailers and wholesalers will help us distribute the charcoal briquette. The next slide. There are other fuels which are being used in Kenya. They will act as a competition, and the fossil fuel, which is charcoal, will be our major competition. The next slide. Biomass is better as it is cheaper and cleaner alternative energy compared to fossil fuel. It is a renewable source of energy. It reduces our reliance of fossil fuels, less garbage in the landfills, and it is carbon neutral. The next slide. Our future plans are partnering with government and NGOs, having branches all over Kenya, and venturing into biofuels. The next slide. The founding team is me, George Karani, the team leader, Collins, the team assistant, and Purity. Thank you.
Thank you, George. We are glad you are able to reconnect just to share the wonderful presentation. It's unfortunate Purity and Collins were unable to join us in the camp, but George did a really great job, and we are glad you were able to come this far. So let's clap for George. Claps, claps, claps as we get feedback from the judges. If there's any feedback, comments.
Let Faith go ahead.
None from my end. No, none from my end.
Okay, Jeff, it's your turn.
So one thing is that's a nice project, and then one concern I have is in terms of competition, how the biomass energy will be able to compete with other briquette producers because they exist in the market. Then something else to consider is that apart from household consumption, we also have so many factories that require reliable sources of energy, so they may consider also producing for factories like tea factories.
Thank you for the input. So George, you can here start thinking bigger, like how can you scale your production so that you can bring in more consumers besides the households. Thank you so much for the feedback, our judges. We've had so far 5 teams present, and at this point I'd like to just take a short break for people to stretch. We've been sitting down since 10 a.m. so I'd like us to just stretch a little bit, take a pause, internalize. If you have any feedback, continue typing it in the chat, and then we'll break for 10 minutes, Richie? Or do you want 5 minutes?
Depends. I'd put 5 minutes. But yeah, we can do 10 minutes. Anyone want to lead us in a stretch, or we just leave?
Yes, so we'll work at exactly 11:25 to continue. And Film X Alata, you'll be fast up after the break. So take a break, grab some coffee or water or juice or fruit or ugali if you're an early eater. And then we'll be back.
And I like the chat. So one thing for the teams, I know we probably won't have time for you to respond to the feedback you get, both on chat and by the judges. So feel free to go on the chat box. It's really interactive, and just respond to some of the questions and feedback you're getting. So like you can have a way to get more feedback based on your responses. So feel free to, after you present, you can listen to the judges and also respond on chat. But so far, you're doing an amazing job. Looking forward to the next half.
So what makes me a leader? I want to be able to expand choices for young people, youth, and children so that they can be able to function properly in the world they live in.
And what makes me a leader is that each and every day I try to live out my values as much as I can. Not perfect sometimes I mess up, sometimes I don't live up to them, but just acknowledging that even as a leader, I can sometimes make mistakes, but always try to learn from those mistakes and be better.
What makes me a leader is I'm patient. I never used to be, but I learned it the hard way. I'm patient. I listen well to people, and my friends tell me that. Then I'm trustworthy. So I think that's important as a leader, and I believe in myself as a leader.
So there's that question about core values and what makes me a leader and a change maker. So I'll give you a statement which can answer both questions. So I like challenges, and I like solving the challenges creatively in a team to make a difference.
I think what makes me a leader is the ability to inspire and motivate others. So I hope during this camp, even if I'm able to just inspire just one of you, I think I'll have done my bit for this camp.
In 2016, I was the award winner for the Kenya National Innovation Awards. That is something we take it as a motivation to everyone, and it's something which makes me a leader.
What makes me a change maker is I always put myself in a position where I want to learn and explore and just make change.
Being a leader is ability to work under pressure effectively and efficiently. Thank you.
students from high school thought that they wanted to be part of an organization that focused on solving problems around the world. When we started projects in Sierra Leone, it became very clear quickly that we did not want to be always developing solutions and handing it over to people. We wanted people to think about the process of developing solutions, because that was also a learning opportunity. And we did it in Sierra Leone in 2012, and it went really well. And a couple of, one of the co-founders, Jacob, was moving to Kenya and wanted to do it in Kenya because he was locals in Kenya who wanted this to happen. And so we naturally expanded to Kenya and did it in Kenya.
I'm young. I have my smartphone and I love my iCloud. It's secure for me. Pitch why I shouldn't use my iCloud anymore and I should purchase from home.
You are passionate about your idea, but go out there and execution implies all the above things that I've said. Testing it out with people, with friends and families, with the market out there. Don't be afraid. Do that.
Sarah, actually, I'm 16 years old. I study in Kenya, and I'm working in Kenya because of a project, the Skypod, which is a transport system about humans to be better in terms of transport. Advice and the open consultation. They kind of help a lot in terms of expertise. Yeah, so we get to learn a lot from them.
Come up with ideas, projects, solutions to some of the problems they see in their society or in their community.
My name is Michelle Barrett. I'm a program manager of the Innovation Kenya. So Innovate Kenya, or Innovation Challenge, is a competition-based one where we solicit applications of project ideas from students in different schools. So what we do is we encourage you to have ideas that solve problems that they realize that are in their communities. When these students have these project ideas, we invite them to apply for our competition. So Innovate Kenya has this one week camp where we take the finalists from different project areas, the agriculture, energy, transport, arts and crafts. Take them through a 1 week camp, an intense 1 week camp. We take various workshops, different leadership clinics, design thinking, training, and we get them to work on the idea. And what we do at the end is that we get them to present these solutions and project ideas that they have to a vast audience. So it could be their families, their peers, and also other professionals in different areas of interest. And so what we do is just encourage them to keep thinking of how to solve issues in their communities.
And the next team was the most audacious team, and this was the Skypod team. They also received workshops from the school as well. So for them, it's Kenny and Vera.
The objective of the program is to actually take an accelerated process or a really quick process of them learning how to become change makers in society.
I feel like I'm compelled to change what we have in the community, especially the problems we face in the communities. I feel like I should go back there and work with them.
We have a wide range of expertise, including IBM, which can help you guys with research even after the camp. So they don't leave you guys wherever you are with award education. So they offer you mentorship and they can link you to guys, companies which actually are relevant in your field. That's really awesome. It's a plus for them. And he being after therefore he's across the continent in Europe and in America.
Welcome back. We're about to just resume our. I hope you took the break, you stretched a little bit, grabbed some coffee, tea, porridge, ugali, some snacks if you needed them, and we'd like to continue with our presentations.
Yeah. Thank you, Brenda. Before we resume, we have another judge who's just joined us, Brian. So Brian Chisoli, he's from Ashoka, and I read his bio. Ashoka is an organization that supports and cultivates change makers, a community of change makers. And we've learned a lot from them. So I'm really appreciative of Brian being able to come here to listen to the young people and help them grow as leaders, innovators, and change makers. So Brian, maybe you can unmute yourself and your video, turn your video on and just say hi to everyone, and then we can resume.
Yeah, hi.
Hello, Brian.
Okay, so my video, my laptop video, I don't know what setting I did. I've been trying to just figure it out for the longest time, and I haven't figured it out yet.
It's okay.
So once I'm going to just log in with my phone, and then I'll just put it on my phone, and then you guys can get to see me. So my name is Brian Chisoli, and I lead the youth program for Shoka in East Africa. And as Richard just rightly put it, our focus is just to empower young people to first find their power, to identify as change makers, and begin practicing for it for the good of all. Last year, was it, or early this year, I was part of the Global Minimum pitch, and I really got to hear from amazing young people who are doing, solving problems that I found really interesting. And since then, I just got in touch with Global Minimum, and we've been working along so far. And I'm glad to be here. So that's what I'm going to say for now. And I'm really excited just to hear from the young leaders who are part of this call and who've been part of your program, because I know there's something of value that I'll get to learn from the young leaders and the solutions that they're providing and they're coming up with. So looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So we've already had 5 presentations, and we have 5 more to go, and you are welcome to give your input, the feedback that they will use towards building their prototypes, as during this camp we were not able to build actual physical prototypes. The focus was basically on sketches and paper prototypes. So you're welcome to give them feedback that will also help them while they're thinking about prototyping. We'll continue with our presentations, but before that, I'd like us to join our social media guru, Wango, in posting tweets. You can tweet about the showcase event, what's interesting, what you've learned during the camp. So our participants, you can put up on your Facebook pages, on Twitter, tag us at Innovate Kenya. Facebook, we're on Innovate Kenya and Innovate Kenya community, and Instagram at global_minimum_. And our hashtag is #Innovate from home. Let's get tweeting and sharing our learnings. And next team, we have the FilmX Alata. It's time for your presentation. Welcome.
Okay, so our project is the FilmX Alata. My name is Michelle Wamaitha, and my partner is Mary Waithera. We are from Nyambu Girls High School. And yes, so the problem which we identified is bedwetting, which is basically it is having loose bladder during nighttime. And also we identify menstrual period, because this is where a female might have messed her clothes when she maybe is not aware of her menstrual cycle. Yes. Next slide.
So the next slide is the research. From our research, we found that there are causes. One of the causes is inheritance and underlying illnesses such as UTIs and loose bladders. Also, there are people who have found solution to this problem, and one of the solutions is by use of medicines and adult diapers. Yeah, on to the next slide.
So we came up with a solution by inventing a machine that senses liquid and responds by using an alarm. So basically, there is a copper sensor, which actually the user attaches it to the pant, and when it actually senses any form of liquid, either thick or light, it sends a different alarm. So this when the copper senses the liquid, it will send the message through the pant. It also has a display screen, which is going to display the time when the copper sensor sends any form of liquid. This is going to help the user to record the time and date which it occurred, and this will help the person control the cycle. And it has 2 different alarms: a high pitch alarm, which is going to alarm when it senses a light liquid, and it is going to buzz when it senses a thick liquid. Next slide.
On to our target market. So we target both genders, the male and the female, and mostly these are the mothers with young children between the age of 7 and 13 years, and also our citizens who are our old age, our elders who are between 60 and 100. Also, we also target hospitals where nurses usually have a hard time identifying that a patient, for example, a patient with with a stroke or even a blood cancer, they usually have a hard time identifying that the patient has messed herself or even been wet. Yeah, next slide.
So we have our revenue streams. So these are the points where we're going to get the money to start our project. So we have first to plan. So if either we can get sponsorship, it will help our project by starting to build. And also we are going to have charge guidance and counseling and also motivational speeches, which are going to have them in high schools, maybe talk to our targeted audience or even in hospitals and stuff. So this is where we're going to get our revenue. And also after we have already had our model, we're going to sell our model. And also, so we are going to, this is going to help us invest, which are going to build our machine better. Next slide.
So our cost structure, the cost of our materials, this will range something like 7,100 shillings. Also for the paying personnel, these are the employees who will help us to build our machine. Also the employees who will help us distribute our products. That will cost, in total, that will be something like 15,000. Next slide.
So we're going to partner up with companies, e.g. the sanitary towel company, like the Senegal. This is because we're going to hand out free sanitary towels to girls who cannot help themselves or even being able to purchase them. And also we're going to partner up with the electrical companies, which are going to help us to start building our machines from scratch. Yes. Next slide.
So our competitors, these are people who have already found the solution to bedwetting problem, and these are their machines are like the Rapid, Queen, and Dry Body. Next.
Why our machine is better? This is because it alerts the user on time, in that immediately the copper sensor senses any form of liquid, either thick or light. It sends the message immediately to the main machine, which is going to alert the user of her being able to manage the problem. And also it is going to have early detections, as I've said earlier. It is durable because you use solar power, which is going to be converted into electrical energy, and it can also be stored. This is going to help the person during maybe the rainy season whereby there is no sunshine. It is also manageable and very high portable because we assume it to be a 6-inch machine. Next slide.
So our future plans, we hope to distribute our product to our markets and with a low price that everyone can buy. Also, we plan to give away our products for free. We give mostly those people who are at their low classes. Also hope to get a sponsor who will help us through our project. The next slide.
So our founding team, I am Michelle Lomaida, the team leader, and my assistant, Mary Waidera. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary and Michelle. I see a question in the chat around how portable is your product. As you think about that question, we'll take any feedback from the judges. If you have any comments or questions, it's your time. If there's no comments from the judges,
Let me ask a question. Sorry for
Brian.
taking time. I was just waiting for the other judges to just jump
All right.
in. I think the problem identification is good, so I'll commend the team for that. And how you just unpack that, it's good. I think what I didn't quite understand is where will you be placing the machine? I don't know if you mentioned that or it skipped my mind. And is that 6 inches? Are you going to be placing it on the lining of the panty or the boxers of the young person or the pampers? As in just a bit more clarification on this. Another thing is, for an older child who's probably 13 years old or 14 who's going to secondary school, there might be this stigma, especially if people know about this product and stuff like that. So how are you going to really address the stigma that is associated with people who are bedwetting? And I think the question that was shared on the group chat group is a good question.
So thank you, Brian, for the wonderful input. So this question has been thrown to you since the beginning of the camp, Team Fume X, the portability of the machine, how am I wearing it? So start thinking about these questions and researching on are there any similar products out there that have been used by people, especially if I'm supposed to wear it. So just the aesthetics of the whole product you're trying to design. But that was a really wonderful presentation. And even from the chat, there's another issue on how to roll out your product. It's using the solar panels. So you need to be elaborate on how you're packaging the whole product. So think about this, and as you're building your prototype, we'd like to see them being implemented. Thank you. Thank you so much. Up next, we have Team Kelvin Essence.
My name is James Mwangangi, and we are extracting limonene, which is an oily substance that occurs naturally in orange juice and other citrus fruits. And we are Kevin Essence from Joytown Secondary School. Welcome.
Next slide, please. This is our name, Kelvin Essence, and our tagline is Nature's Touch. So I'm going to take you through the problem and the solution. So according to the Center of Disease Control, mental health related issues is number 5 of the top 10 causes of death in our country, Kenya. And in other researches, we found out that the ladies or the women are the most stressed, believe it or not. And so there is high demand of aromatherapeutic products so that to reduce the stress, but these products are not supplied efficiently. The high demand is unmet. So we, next slide, please. So next slide. So in the solution of that problem, we as Kevin Essence decided to extract limonene in order to make the aromatherapy products, which will help in the relieving of stress and filling that gap of high demand. And so we are going to use the oranges in this extraction since they are most produced, and we saw that approximately 100,000 tons of oranges are produced in our country, and the average mass of their peelings is 41,000 approximately tons. And so from the peelings, you can get approximately 310 kilograms of limonene. And so we had our prototype sketch down there. It had the round bottomed flask, the Levy condenser, and the collection bottle. So we grate the peelings, put them in the round bottomed flask, add enough water, then heat. When the steam collects some limonene from the orange peels, takes it to the Levy condenser, condenses the steam into a liquid that has 2 distinct phases. The toppermost phase is the oily substance, that's our limonene, while the bottom phase is just water. So you separate them further using a dropper or a separating funnel, and you get your pure limonene. Let me invite my next partner, to continue.
We are targeting middle-aged and middle-class urban ladies because they are the integral part of the community that is income, overwhelmed by stress as they execute their daily obligations. So in order to reach them, we use channels such as referrals, that is word of mouth, whereby we approach a given middle-class lady and we give her an explanation of our product message to other ladies, to other potential ladies. So also looking forward as we grow up to adopt usage of social media to reach out our customers, such as Facebook, Twitter. You are able to see Instagram and other platforms. Next slide.
Madison, we are going to look at the business model, the hybrid of business, where you find that we sell our our product limonene to another business for each to process and make other then we go to business to customer. This is where we make our products and sell it directly to our customers, where we target directly the customer, business to business. Next slide. Competition, big manufacturers of beauty products, for example, Nivea. Since our products deals mostly with beauty products, they are big companies like Nivea. We have perfume industries, so we'll have big competition in the manufacturing. Also, we have companies starting synthetic limonene. Yes, the synthetic limonene, but ours it has more advantage than the synthetic since it can cover the field of therapy, the therapeutic purposes. Therefore, it is the best than the synthetic limonene. That's all for the competition. Next slide.
Kevinescence is better because it's willing to bridge the gap between the producers and the consumers. This will be done through our customer-centric services like the Joy Bundle, which entails our product like soaps and candles as a packed deal. Thus, our customers will have an easier time acquiring our products. Another thing is that since our product is organic, there are minimal chances that there would be any side effects derived from the use of our product. Next slide, please. In future, we plan like any other company. We plan to market our product and take it to business perpetuality. Aggressive marketing on the internet through social media platforms, like my counterpart has mentioned, and we also plan to diversify our products through introduction of new products like shampoos and lotions to the already in addition to the already products that we produce. And our motive for our products is not only based on making profit, it's based on the notion that every individual out there should have a clear, mental, and stable physical health.
Founding team are James Mwangangi, the team leader, and the designer of the slides and the presentation, Kevin Monala. We have a contact design guide, and quality control is on Gure. That's all.
Thank you. You guys were just right on time, as I was just getting a notification to tell you your time's up. So you got lucky. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I'm looking forward to trying out those lotions, shampoos for my natural African hair. And welcome some feedback from judges, Bran, Faith, if you have any comments and questions.
I have, I don't know, an observation, or if it comes across as a comment or a question, it's okay. And this is to the team. I think number one, when you're pitching a solution, you have to ask yourself which angle would appeal most to your audience, right? And when you were pitching this solution, to be honest with you, in the past 5 minutes, you kind of lost me. Not because your solution is not interesting. Actually, it's very interesting, but it's the approach that you used. So you see, your solution is multifaceted, right? You have the aromatherapy, but you're also tackling a more environmental friendly approach, so to speak, and for lack of a better word. So on your last slide, I looked at on your slide, and it says, Kelvin Essence and then Nature's Touch. And I found that to be really interesting. So my advice to you would be, when you're pitching this, present that, the cost benefit of you guys recycling like the peels of the oranges, because that would get you the partners. It can easily get you partners, and you guys would not have to invest a lot of money in terms of raising funds to buy this equipment. You can partner with and what are they called? These guys who produce apple juice and all those things, and you focus on the oranges that they use, and you just tell them you're going to be picking them up and recycling them, and they could be your partners or something like this. And that's the first thing that came to mind. So as in that is what my advice would be when you're pitching. It's the aromatherapy and all that is really good. I'm not saying it's bad. But if you want to really get the guys on board, I'd say present both angles, right? On one hand, you're recycling this waste, and on the other hand, this is what you're doing. You're converting this into something else. So if you're pitching it to an investor, say guys who do the juice and stuff, they'd be really interested because this could be another avenue for them to increase on their revenue and their profits. So it makes sense to their bottom line, and it could be like a CSR project for them. So it's really nice. So just consider that.
Thank you, Brian, for the wonderful input. And Kelvin Essence team, I think this conversation has been there, and even in fact during the camp, in one of your slides you mentioned like Kevian, these people that make juice being partners, just making sure that it comes out clearly that you intend to use the peels that they throw away from the oranges they use. So really nice, wonderful feedback. Just take note of that as you continue developing your business model and thinking about the partners that you want to work with. Up next, we have Team Dosha.
So, okay, hi and welcome to our presentation. My name is Valerie and my project partner's name is Lina Nyango. So our project name is DOSA. So we move to the next slide, please. We did a research and we found out that the problem is poor water distribution in rural and urban areas, inadequate water meter reading, lack of accessibility to water services. It is tiresome and time-consuming while applying for water services, lack of sufficient customer service from existing water services. Next slide. So we did a research and we found out that according to Kenya Water Service Board, Kenya's water supply is low and covers about 41% of the population. According to Water.org, 41% of Kenyans still rely on unimproved water sources such as ponds, shallow wells, and rivers, while 71% of Kenyans use unimproved sanitation solutions. So next, please. So our survey was poor accessibility to water is a major cause of mortality in developing countries, where mechanisms to monitor and enforce regulation for distribution of water are inadequate or lacking. So the aim of this study is to determine the distribution of water. Water supply in Kenya mainly consists of municipal piped water, natural water, and stream waters. So next slide, please. So our solution is a mobile application which will register water customers and water companies. Through the app, users will send meter readings to their water providers and access history to their meter reading and water bills. Water companies will send water bills to users, and contact services for complaints and feedback will be availed. So next slide. Our target market is 1,034,000 Kenyans from urban areas who have piped water in their household. So our partners are WaterAid, Water.org, Water is Life Kenya, and of course Ministry of Water and Sanitation. Next. Our competitor is Water NSW. It is a bulk water supply and system operator in New South Wales. Our solution is better because it covers water services from many water providers, and it is also available to Kenyans. Next. So the founding team is I, Valerie, the developer, and Lynn, the business analyst. Next. So we move to the app design. This is how our app will look like. In the first screen, we have the registration. Here, the customer will enter his or her details, and also the company he or she has chosen and the details of the. So this is the next screen. Here, you will just enter your email and submit it. So here you'll be provided the customer will be provided with the company he or she has chosen and every detail of the company. Yeah, so here is where you will take when you want to submit this one. So here if you want to submit your meter reading, you'll just take a picture. Yeah, you'll just take a picture of it. and send it to CUC. It has a details of it has the detail of the company, so you'll just take a picture and send it to the email of the company.
Thank you, Valerie, for the elaborate presentation. I would have loved to hear from your teammate. I don't know if she didn't have anything to say, but I welcome people. Please type your feedback in the chat so that Valerie and Lynn can check it and just use it when they're implementing their prototype. Judges, I welcome you. If you have any question or feedback, you may proceed.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now, I am a bit unclear on what the solution really is exactly. Is it a smart water monitoring system that links to mobile? I'm not too sure I caught that. What is the solution exactly? And then the second thing, from your app, I can see there is a couple of water companies and so on and so forth. Water consumers in the city are very ignorant of who is actually providing the water that they're consuming. So, how will they know? Do they have to register and choose and indicate that my water comes from this supplier? Do they have that knowledge to begin with? But if you could just clarify on what the solution really is, I think that's what I need for now.
Valerie, are you ready to answer, or do you want to?
Yeah, I can answer. So our solution basically is an app. So it's an app, it's an application it's a smartphone application. You'll find it in your phone. And about the ignorant people, so when you get to the app and choose your company, you'll get some help. You'll be given services. So like when you want to apply, when you have problem with the services, or you are unclear about the services, you can be given, you will be helped by the organization, by the company, the water company. Yeah, I think I've answered.
All right. So if Faith is not satisfied, I'll be sure to make sure this conversation continues, as we know people are yet to finish their prototyping, and that feedback would really be useful so that it's very clear what the solution is before they go ahead to test it out. I see some really nice comments. Thank you, Rebecca from Metis, for popping in. It's really fun dropping in. Appreciate all the innovation of Jimin and all the youth leaders. Your adaptation to digital during the pandemic is amazing. So guys, just know you guys are part of a great thing. Up next, we have the automatic dustbin team. Jerevas, I hope you're ready to go.
Hi guys, my name is Gervas Mgisha. I am 18 years of age. I am a student at Innovate High School, Taveta. With me here, I have a project that I had designed and named it Automatic Dustbin. The tagline is conserving and managing the environment, whereby that was my main reason as why I came up with this